Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Warning. The following content is not suitable for small children. Viewer discretion is advised.
I love watching Molly dance to that intro.
I forgot you could
so
see
entertaining. I could see what everybody's doing during that. It's always entertaining. Anyway, thank you. Welcome to the Pop Culture Podcast for Thursday. What is it? October 8th. Wow, already October 8th, 2020. This week we have Jay and Chris Thornton and Cactus Jack star Michael Gull. Guys, thanks for coming on.
What up?
Thanks for having us.
Man. Pretty
Awesome.
sure this is our first live podcast
Is it?
we've been on, right?
Mine too. What a coincidence.
And my first as a guest.
First as a guest?
No, we did a few
right?
back in the day.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, a few years ago. 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So.
Like when we started trying to make this fucking movie, like
Yeah.
17 years ago.
How long have you guys been trying? How long have you guys been? How long have you guys been working on Cactus Jack?
4-ish years, right?
Basically, the Trump presidency.
Well, prior.
A little before.
I remember we did that proof of concept trailer in February on Valentine's Day weekend of 2016.
Right. That was a great way to spend Valentine's Day.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we probably started shooting, 6 months later, maybe 7 months later, around this time of 2016.
Yeah, we did the proof of concept trailer. Then we ended up doing a crowdfunding campaign. And yeah, probably about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Which is insane. But I mean,
yeah, because it was prior to the Trump's election. So yeah.
Right.
Like,
it's been a while.
In fact, Jack, references it, like calls out, that he says Trump's going to win. I know you don't like it, but
see, we took so long to make it that it's relevant again.
There you go.
right, exactly.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. All right. Well, before we get in, why don't we explain, who are you guys? Jay and Chris, tell us who you are.
Yeah, Jay, tell them who we are.
All right, we're a couple of screenwriting brothers. We've been writing professionally probably about 10 years. So still unproduced. So we're kind of stuck in that development hell, Hollywood hamster wheel, where we've been hired several times to write stuff, written for movie stars, been flown to Rome to break a movie with European directors, and we've done a lot of cool shit, but nothing's come out yet.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I remember
we went to make this,
Yeah, I remember hearing stories of you working for Zac Efron, writing the Ted Bundy film that he loved, but never.
Well, we
never
were
got
writing a
made.
serial killer movie for him, and then kind of got stuck in development hell on that. And we went to them, and we're like, "Why don't we do a Ted Bundy movie? Because he would smash this shit." And they're like, his rep or his creative executive was like, "Dude, that's a great idea. Let me talk to him, and I'll get back to you." And then we heard crickets for like 3 weeks, and then read in the trades Zac Efron to play Ted Bundy because there was already
that was another
blacklist.
script that was already
The script already
at once
existed, so he's like, "Why keep going through rounds of development when there's something out there that made the blacklist already?"
Yeah.
So our instincts were good, which, dude, I mean, I'm sure this is not abnormal for Hollywood screenwriters to, first off, not have a produced credit after 10 years, but have made pretty good, decent money at times, But also to just run into parallel development left and right, or bad luck, or bad timing. We just went and pitched a TV show we had in development for 2 years, which is part of the reason this took so long to make. We got a development deal on a show idea of ours in the middle of making this. And coronavirus hit, like, as we're pitching. And everything goes into lockdown. So that's over. A previous TV show idea, we had optioned to the Weinstein Company. You know that one. So,
and how's that going for you?
We own the rights again, which is cool. But a company wanted us to take it back to market, but they had so many notes that we just weren't jiving with that we just said fuck it and backed off of that. It was a good company, but I mean, we've gotten to a point in our careers where we're just like, if it's not what the story we're trying to tell, why are we going to invest our time and blood and sweat and tears in telling it? It's only going to end bad, you know? So we've been at that forever, but this was, again, an exercise in cutting out the middleman. Like, how can we find an audience? We also wrote a couple novels. We didn't do anything to market them.
Yeah.
A few years over the, you know, I think 5 years ago, the first one hit. We just stuck it on Amazon. We didn't do shit to market it, you know, because we're too busy with all these different projects. But the point being, can we find an audience, even if it's just 2 people, whatever? When you're a screenwriter, if you don't get a producer credit, no one ever reads anything. No one outside of the circles, you know. So
everyone in Hollywood might love you, but you know it doesn't get out into the world.
Exactly. So that's part of the reason we made this film, which I don't know how wise the choice is to tackle this subject matter in the manner that we did. If you want to find an audience, it's going to be super polarizing, but
yeah,
to us, that's part of the fun of it. When you're operating on a nano budget, you have no oversight. For once, you can just pull the kid gloves off, you know? I mean, half of the notes you get are tone it down. This is too incendiary. This villain's too villainous, you know? I feel like Hollywood's gotten to a point, like you've seen these brouhahas break out over, say, the X-Men billboard where Oscar Isaac is Apocalypse and he's choking Mystique, who's Jennifer Lawrence, and then social media blows up that it's misogynist and portraying violence against women. You're like, yeah, he's a fucking bad guy. How do we write bad guys if we can't even show bad guys being assholes, you know? So at this price point, we're like, let's just go full bore. And
Yeah.
I mean, we spent
Do it.
2 years of doing solid research, National Vanguard, all these just hate groups and white supremacist groups are reading their garbage and aping it. And, you know, I would write it in a more cinematic, Carnival Barker kind of dialogue for Jack, but those points are real talking points. It's not like we're just out there trying to express these ideas ourselves, obviously, you know? But I'm sure it's going to get misconstrued.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people are going to think we're hate mongers, but
yeah,
what are you going to do?
Michael, how would you explain, how would you describe Cactus Jack?
Wow. The character or the movie?
The film, the overall film.
The film.
We'll get into the character for sure.
I look at it like it's a character study in exactly how ugly a person can be. Like it's putting under a microscope someone that I think is literally the worst cinematic character ever written, like ever. I can't think of any character who's been in a film. I mean, there's like sinister guys in horror movies and stuff, but they don't ring true. This guy could live next door to you, and
he's out there.
There's tons of them, and they have yard signs now. They're easy to identify, and he's them on bath salts, basically.
Yeah, and part of what we were trying to do is not just portray this character that we think is authentic and awful, but Hollywood or any studio or even legitimate producer probably would have too much fear to touch on. And I don't blame them. When you're spending millions of dollars to make movies, that's part of the thing. We're like, we can make a movie for 20 grand, you know? So largely not on our own money, some, but we crowdfunded. We had a couple investors come in because they believe in the project and what it's about. So that helps. But yeah, again, we understand that you know, fear of getting a return on your investment. We're gonna have a hard road marketing now. The incendiary nature of it might help market it, Who knows? Maybe we'll ride a wave of Twitter outrage. Who knows? I don't know. We made it just to make it, to express ourselves, to put some art out into the world. We'll see what happens on the marketing side. We're going to do our best coming on shows like this. I mean, we've got a few other ideas to try and possibly go viral, but more often than not, a film like this is going to take a while to find its legs. It's going to rely on word of mouth, you know, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Michael, were you afraid to take this role on? Because, you know, a lot of times actors are identified as the characters, you know. Are you afraid that people are going to identify you as Jack? I mean,
for a long time I was, and I would go to the set and we would shoot, and most of the time I didn't see the dialogue. I didn't see my lines before I got there. And I would get there and just sort of look at this and
he says the craziest shit you have ever fucking heard in a movie. Guaranteed.
Yeah, you
like
can't
that
even.
25th hour monologue is nothing on this shit.
For a while, I was scared of that, and I mean, a couple of years ago, remember this, Jay and Chris? These guys started a Twitter account under the name of Cactus Jack, and they didn't tell people it was for a movie.
oh, jeez.
And they were tweeting like the shit that Cactus Jack says.
Yeah.
And they got like thousands of followers.
Immediately. It was kind of a sociological experiment.
Yeah.
More than anything. Not so much a marketing thing. We weren't even that deep into the movie, but we're like, let's just do a litmus test or stick our toe in the water and take the temperature of what's going on out there.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely terrifying.
It was absolutely insane. Like nothing we could do.
Did he get a lot of supporters? A lot of people that like, oh my God.
Retweet. Nothing I've ever said that's righteous or right or any art I've ever made and tried to get out there on social media does shit. But you start spreading hate speech and it fucking takes off like wildfire. It's crazy. Yeah. So it's out there. And again, that's part of the reason we made this movie. And not just to portray a character like this, but to, for once, try and dig into how a character got that way. American History X does a little bit with the dinner table scenes and shit, you know?
Yeah.
But nothing's really gone super deep. And, you know, this is a found footage movie, so we only go as deep as the documentarian character would document. We're not showing a bunch of flashbacks and shit like that. It's only what Jack is willing to tell us. But there's also contextually this relationship with his parents, his dad who's dead, his mom who lives upstairs because he lives in her basement.
It's his basement. He owns that house.
That's right.
Yeah.
So you see through this relationship, you see how this guy was poisoned at an early age. You see that it's generational, how minds get hijacked by hate like this, you know? And that might be obvious. That might not even need saying, but apparently it does, because people seem to forget it's so easy to castigate and demonize these people with their fucking awful ideas, but you got to remember they were programmed. It's all input, output.
Yep.
You know, everyone was a kid at one point, unblemished, unspoiled, and they got indoctrinated with bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently it needs reiteration, so we reiterated.
Yeah. I've only seen just a few clips that you shared, and it just looks pretty intense. I'm not gonna lie. I'm really looking forward to it. Do you guys have any kind of release date, or just when it's done, it's done?
That's the approach we're taking. Is when it's done, it's done. We were hoping to hit the election, but that's kind of a arbitrary, artificial deadline, really. I mean, first off, again, the movie's going to take months to find its legs, so who's going to see it before the election for maximum impact?
Right.
Like 100 people tops, probably.
Right.
Plus, the way this election's looking, it might be contested for months, so who fucking knows how long it'll take until a victory is claimed, you know?
Yeah.
But I saw this Edward, I mean, trust me, I felt guilt. Like, we had Kickstarter funders, and we're like, we hope to have this out next year. Fucking 4 years later, right? So here's a word of advice to indie filmmakers. Don't go making promises on your Kickstarter. Or Indiegogo we use. Just say, we're making this film, we're doing our best, we promise we will release it, but I'm not committing to shit as far as the timeline goes or anything, because like Kubrick said, directing a film is like trying to defuse a bomb in a bumper car, you know? There's so much shit that can go wrong. Viruses.
And it is true, the more time,
you know.
and it is true, the more time you spend on something, just the better it gets. The more thought you've put into it, you know, the more nuance, and the more sometimes it just takes time for it to surface what it really wants to be.
Exactly.
We found that in
Stephen
writing
King,
screenplays and other things as well, you know.
yeah, if you ever read On Writing, that awesome book about writing by Stephen King, he talks about unearthing the fossil as you write. And we found that's the case. And I think a lot of movies fail because you lock into the wrong story. Because you got, I mean, shit, look at these studio movies now. They got release dates before they got scripts.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So are they going to tell the best version of that story? Never. It's never going to happen. You can, of course, spin your wheels and take way too long to release something. And I feel like at times we've been in danger of that. But at the same time, like I read this Edward Norton quote. He was talking about making that movie Motherless Brooklyn. And he said something to the effect that gestation never makes it worse. It always gets better. Layers are always revealed. Better ways of
And
doing
there's
it.
another relevant quote. I think it was Da Vinci that said, "Art is never finished, only abandoned." You know, meaning that you could always spend more time on it. At some point, you just have to decide, okay, you know, this is as far as you're going to be able to take it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about diminishing returns, you know. And we've run into this thing countless times where our agent took a script to market fucking 10 minutes after it's out. You're like, shit. You have this epiphany of what you could have done with a story turn or, you know, whatever. Happens all the time. And again, when we're making a movie like this on our own, I mean, let me tell you about the first day of production. It cost $800. Had a crew, camera rentals, all of this. Got 5 minutes of footage. Good footage, but a 10-hour shoot probably. You got to feed everybody. You get people on set who are there just to play at making a movie, and they're fucking talking and stepping on your audio. And I was just like, this is untenable. There's no way I'm making this movie like this. So I didn't fire everyone, but I didn't invite anyone back. And from there, Gull and I just started this really intimate, weird 2-year-long thing where he'd show up for 2 hours at a time, and unfortunately half the time because he's a great storyteller and I'm not half bad. We'd take 45 minutes to get into shooting or whatever, right? But again, all that gestation made it better. I mean, shit from his past, I was able to infuse into the character a little bit, you know, and not any nasty shit, but I'm talking true human character stuff. That would help him connect with the character and make the character a little more empathetic, as nasty as he is. But is that my phone? Somebody just dinged.
Not me.
Where the fuck was I don't know. Just talking about how long it took to make, I guess. But he would show up, and the process was that we're just gonna feel it out as we go. Just me, him, shot it on a phone. It wasn't even a found footage movie at first. This is all. I mean, again, we started this thinking like Robert Rodriguez. What's around us that we have? We got this nasty looking basement. Yeah. That's fucking rad. We got this guy Michael Gull, who I've seen in a few local movies, but I don't think I've seen him truly use his potential. So what can we do with that guy? He feels like a secret weapon that we could weaponize and do some crazy rad shit with. Then it started to grow a bit, started building this set. But let me tell you, indie filmmakers, I built a lot of this crazy bitchin' set off of Craigslist. Free shit. Months I spent just every day perusing Craigslist free ads and found so much cool
shit. You've got
shit,
some weird stuff on your set. I saw like mannequins and gas masks and
dude, tons of shit.
Yeah.
Some of the, you know, the gas mask, that kind of primo prop comes from eBay and shit, but and we spent some of the funding from Indiegogo on that stuff, but a lot of it, it's because it takes place in this basement that belongs to this old teacher lady who likes knickknacks and fucking figurines and Christmas decorations and sewing and shit like that. So we're like, let's build. So that's another way we sell the character of the mom and dad is through the set, right? So dad's old TV repair shit's down there. Mom's old seamstress shit is down there. So you can bring those characters alive just through mise-en-scene. Or mise-en-scène, sorry. Anyway, Gull and I created this thing, kind of almost a Dogma 95 way of doing this. I'm like, I'm going to give myself 10 minutes to light a shot. Because the guy we had come in that first day, he was fucking amazing. He lit beautiful shit. I will say at times we had a little back and forth because he was trying to just light really cinematically. And I'm like, no, I want this all motivated light. Found footage. Like, there shouldn't be a light shining on anything if there's not a fucking light bulb in the actual room, you know?
Yeah.
So there was some disparity there. But I was like, I'm going to give myself 10 minutes to light. For the most part, we're going to do 3 takes, try and Eastwood this shit. I shot it, directed it, wrote it. I mean, edited half of it. We've brought an editor in now. Our manager brought in to help us just close it out. But as much do-it-yourself shit as we could. Because that's part of the experiment, is like to empower this generation of filmmakers to say, everyone's always like, I need an editor. I need a cameraman. I need this. It's like, dude, you got a phone in your pocket. You can make a fucking movie with a phone. You literally can. We did it. And hopefully that's empowering to people as well. Now, they might make a completely different kind of movie, and I would encourage everyone out there to start thinking smaller. There's this thing Chris and I love. I don't know if you've ever seen Lars von Trier's The 5 Obstructions. You ever see that documentary? Dude, it's fucking awesome.
Yeah, Lars von Trier is kind of hit or miss for me. So,
yeah, I get that, man. He's polarizing as well, and a lot of people fucking can't stand him. They think he's shock auteur.
I think it was after I saw Antichrist. I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I'm a Lars von Trier fan. That was just
love Antichrist.
That was just too
I
weird.
was told I need to see that.
It's an allegory. I'll just put it that way. If you take it as an allegory, it's fucking amazing, I think. But anyway, he made this documentary called The 5 Obstructions, where he took this seminal, I think, what was he, Belgian or some shit, this filmmaker, some European filmmaker from the 60s. I feel like an asshole for not knowing his name. He made this important seminal short film back in the 60s, and Lars von Trier is like, I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to challenge him 5 different ways to remake his film. I'm going to give him these 5 obstructions, basically. And one of them would be, you got to recut your film, and no cut can be more than 12 frames. So if you think cinema is 24 frames per second, this thing is fucking nuts. Here's another obstruction. I'm going to have you remake it animated. So he gave him these 5 hurdles, basically, or these parameters that really locked him in. And you hear all the time that necessity is the mother of invention. What's that other quote, dude, that we quote all the time? I don't know. I think it was Orson Welles talking about budgets. Like, when you have a limitless budget, it's not going to be as artistic. The more limits you put on something, the more you have to use art and improvise and come up with interesting ways around these things.
Get creative.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was one of the big questions for the fest this weekend. Do you think having less money makes you more creative?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That was the overwhelming answer.
Yeah, and everyone's out there trying to get the max money they can. I'm like, try and think of something you could shoot for the least amount possible. Try and think of a way you can shoot it with no crew, if possible. I mean, shit, you can make a silent film. I just watched, have you ever heard of that movie Sidewalk Stories?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Watched that like a year ago. I'm like, I might want to make a fucking silent film one of these days. What an amazing cinematic medium. You know what I mean? Like, you visually have to tell the story. It exploits the medium of cinema way better than any talking heads type movie.
Yeah.
The budget's one thing, the crew is another thing. I mean, all of these obstructions, I think, just make you come up with more creative decisions, you know? And I think the film is always going to be more interesting. Maybe not better, maybe not as polished. But man, I'm at a point, Chris agrees, we like lo-fi shit. Some of my favorite movies are super lo-fi, and you just respect what they pulled off, you know? It's kind of like, think of the practical effects of the movies we grew up loving. Harryhausen shit.
Well, we know you love trauma films. But
Yeah.
That jankiness is great.
Yeah, embrace the jankiness. Trauma films, Harryhausen shit, that it looks so dated, but the artistry of trying to make Jim Henson is always going to trump any CGI shit that you just throw money at, you know? That's kind of where we're at.
I saw Meet the Feebles a few weeks ago, and yeah, you couldn't really match those effects any other way. Like, it really using puppetry, like, made that movie so unique.
Right. Puppet movies are amazing. Look at what they did in Being John Malkovich, Team America, Anomalisa.
You don't have to deal with actors, no offense, Cole. Puppets, no actors.
Remember the Jack puppet that didn't make it into the movie, but
Right.
didn't play at one point.
So what were some of the biggest hurdles that you guys faced with Cactus Jack? Some of the biggest challenges? I mean, it's a very politically charged film.
None of that's a hurdle to me because I'm not afraid of any of that shit. Not to sound like I'm fucking Braveheart or something. But the hurdles were just life. You know what I mean? I was just coming off of chemotherapy going into this, which is part of the reason we made it. A young kid. My kid's only 7 now, so probably 3 years old as we're making this. Money, time, day jobs. That's the problem when you're an independent filmmaker. It's life that's the hurdle to make the movie. You know what I mean? Once you get in there, that's a kind of an escapist playground to a degree until you start putting a lot of pressure on yourself. But that's again where these arbitrary release dates and shit like that come. It's good to keep yourself accountable, but at the same time, you could definitely start hanging your own albatrosses around your neck, you know?
Yeah, how did you guys do on crowdfunding? That can be really hit or miss with independent films.
All right, financially, the way we started making the movie was I had a buddy who believes in us, big fan of our screenwriting. He's a screenwriter as well, with a better day job. So he threw $5,000 in, and we used that to make the proof of concept trailer. That proof of concept trailer was instrumental in raising any crowdfunding money, I think. So I think in the crowdfund itself, what did we raise? Like $6,000. Not a ton, but definitely could build our set out with it. But again, so the $5,000 was gone. We got $6,000. I had an angel investor, rich dude I know, who thought it was rad. He threw us $5,000. He's like, just take it. So that was probably $11,000, $800 of which was gone the first day, right? When you're filming with a crew and camera rentals and all that. That's why I was just like, this shit ain't happening. One other crazy thing about this is being screenwriters and being stuck in that thing for years, development hell, whatever you want to call it. We made this without a script, which is fucking kind of crazy.
I need you to clarify that so it doesn't seem like I came up with this.
Michael Gull is the best improviser on the planet. That's why we chose him for this.
Yeah, I was going to be one of my
racist shit.
We are not even going to joke about that kind of shit.
All right, I'm kidding.
Oh my
He already
God.
told you he would show up not knowing his lines. It's been established that it's scripted. I would write basically sides, and we teleprompted some of it, you know what I mean? Because a lot of it is fucking heavy monologues. There's no way he's just going to show up and do these monologues. A lot of them would have been hard to be off book or whatever the fuck you call it. I'm not an actor. Even if he had weeks to prepare, you know what I mean? Again, with a day job, with a life, it's not like you're some pro actor on Broadway who does nothing but study this shit all day. So a lot of it, which I think he did an amazing job of, and the way we lined up the teleprompter and everything, the fact that he's talking to a documentarian helps. So he's already looking at this character off screen. He's looking at the monitor. But yeah, as far as what happens, we kind of had a loose idea of the progression of it, but that was magical to me, not having it all locked in. It's going to be this, then that, then this, and organically it really just started to lock in, like, oh, well, shit, we had this set up. And again, these epiphanies would come months later. I mean, there's a whole element to the second half of the movie that we went back last year and shot. Like it ended a different way. And that never would have came about if we had a script.
Yeah, that was
would
a
have shot
whole
the
other
ending
movie.
you had, and that would have been
other film.
Yeah, it's a whole different kind of film. And it's way better for it.
Yeah.
But again, that's kind of the danger. And I say this as a screenwriter. A script is a blueprint for a film, so it's a necessity if you're making a studio film with hundreds of people involved and all these moving parts and shit. But again, we tried to suck all that out of it, say, how can we make a movie as loose and artistically as possible? Not having a script, I think, was a key component of that. We didn't paint ourselves into corners, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There were no corners. We just kept painting until we had something we thought was cool, so...
Yeah, one of my questions was going to be how much improv was there on the film?
Not much in terms of his head speech.
Not really, not much.
Shit.
I mean, I remember when there's a couple of scenes. I think the only thing that I actually improv was the scene where he's talking about his mother when he was young.
Yeah, and that's a really good
thing,
scene.
which comes from that true story
one of those
from
things.
my childhood. I don't know that I came up with anything else.
Not really. I mean, they were great, again, little pieces of your life, like your dad's rings. Cactus Jack's dad had all these rings, and he used to wear these rings around. And oh, look, see how this knot just cut out of this one? That's the ring he was wearing when he died. They got to cut it off your body and shit, you know? Those are his dad's real rings.
Wow.
So the more we can infuse real life backstory like that into it, the better it is, you know?
Mhm.
And again, we set out to make, we're calling it like a horror of ideas, a horror of rhetoric, because how scary is some of the rhetoric that comes out of these people, right? That's more horrific than any fucking supernatural Stephen King story or whatever. These real people with these real thought viruses that they might act on, you know?
Yeah. So you didn't go method on this, did you, Michael?
No. No, but it gets in your head. He was in my head for a long time. It fucked me up a little bit.
Dude, there were countless scenes. We would, as soon as I was like cut, we both just shuddered. Like, dude, we need showers. Like, this is fucking gross.
Yeah.
So anyone who thinks we reveled in this kind of shit, I mean, as a maverick, maybe the Lars von Trier and me did a bit. You know, just like we're pushing the envelope here. We're doing shit that no one would ever let us do if they were paying us to do this. So
and we are highly motivated to write about what we're kind of terrified by, you know.
Yeah.
Like we're you know, we grew up watching a lot of horror movies and stuff, you know, and you know, that being terrified is kind of titillating, you know, so we're drawn to writing material that does that.
Everything's
Well,
hard.
I can tell you, being the guy who had to say all of this stuff and do these horrific things. I mean, we're talking about his rhetoric and everything, but the film devolves into him physically doing some horrifying things as well. I would get in the car after shooting and just be sort of really freaked out, and it stays with you. It's not. Yeah, I wasn't
Fincher said movies should scar you. What's that?
Yeah, I wasn't reveling at all. I was thinking. I was very concerned that people would think that I was like that, and I would get in the car and I would just be like, "Holy shit, I'm ruined. I am going to be unemployable in any aspect after this." Hopefully, that's the opposite.
It remains to be seen. Maybe we all will be. We'll all get canceled. I don't know. Again, I call myself a non-practicing humanist. I fucking love people, humanity, but man, they disappoint me all the fucking time with how they get outraged at stupid shit and misconstrue stuff, you know. So I'm fully expecting there to be an armada of people that are triggered by this.
There will be.
Understandably.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things we're talking about doing, this is literally probably the most offensive thing ever fucking made. We're talking about putting out two versions of the movie. The safe space version, where it's bleeped into oblivion, so it's like nigh unwatchable, right? I mean, if you bleep every offensive thing Jack says, it's
What's the point of watching it? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But we're going to sell that, and then the triggered version, which is fully uncensored, because there's certain things that even we feel weird about. Dude saying the N-word so many times, you know what I mean?
I want there to be a count as to how many times that word is used in this fucking movie. Holy crap!
You haven't already counted?
No, we haven't counted because it's never been about that for us. We're not preoccupied with that, getting off on it or anything.
No, but
we could do like South Park, when every time fuck came up and just there's a meter that just
Sam Jackson meter.
Yeah.
So we'll be going through, and when we do this edit to put out the safe space version, we'll definitely tally those up. N-word will probably come out on top. The homosexual epithet, F-word, will be used a lot.
That one.
The C-word, the misogynist C-word will be used a lot. And it's a punishing film, but again, this shit's out there. Chris and I especially love verisimilitude in movies. I mean, we're big fans of shit like Steven Soderbergh going to some town in West Virginia and casting his lead from a fucking Kentucky Fried Chicken when he makes a movie like Bubble. You know what I mean? We love ugly, just normal looking ugly type people, Walmart type fucking faces in our movies we hate and can't stand.
Your actor's right here.
Present company excluded.
Yeah.
Though we should get into this whole teeth thing at some point.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, fucking keep sidetracking myself. Again, doing a live podcast where I seem to be the one talking 90% of the time. I'm like,
That's why it took us 4 fucking years to do a movie.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna give you a note here. 2 hours later. Shit, you gotta go. Yeah, I don't even know what the fuck I was talking about.
You were calling me ugly, Jay.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, yeah.
You forgot to
And that's
start it
what I
with no
learned.
offense, but
We could spend another hour on that, but
I like to cast the ugly people. So have you guys talked to distributors? Has there been any
no, we're
interest?
gonna self-distribute this. Oh well, I was talking
Yeah.
about the safe space versus the fucking
The two different versions, that's right, yeah.
The triggered
So,
version.
part of the point of doing that, I think, is to insulate us from the cancel culture outrage crowd. This is the triggered version. You will be triggered. You actually pay
You
a couple
paid more
extra
for this.
bucks
You asked
to
for
get
it.
triggered.
right,
So how
we're
mad at
warning
us
you.
can you get when you paid extra for the punishment? Shut the fuck up. That's the point of doing that, essentially. If you can't handle this version, by all means, there's the safe space version for you. You know.
Do you think there's a chance of this maybe like blowing up in your faces though? Like if you
Absolutely. I mean, it's a tightrope walk for sure. And like I said, I think I don't think it would justifiably blow up in our faces, but I have such little faith in people that I could definitely see it blowing up in our faces.
Yeah.
Anyone
But
who
since we had no
understands the
careers,
function
really,
of
we're
art,
uncancelable.
yeah, I honestly don't give a fuck. There are a couple things we cut out of the movie or didn't even shoot because they were just too much. A couple things I will never not be a little bitter about of actors not agreeing to do them. But not you so much.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
The other thing.
Yeah.
the other thing.
And then there was one thing that could have got us killed. Some of the people Cactus Jack talks shit about
say
have a very
Pablo?
low threshold for you talking shit about them.
Like kind of like a Die Hard 2 moment with the sandwich board.
Yeah. maybe
Tell
like a
Jay.
Syriana moment. maybe.
Tell the story of that thing that we didn't use that you initially wanted to put in the movie.
Yeah, tell the story.
The one that we actually shot but won't be using?
No,
You're talking about the later
It's probably the thing you were
stuff we
just
came
talking
up
the
with?
about.
drawing the
That we did a
picture.
plot while
Yeah,
on it.
we shot that. It's just
Oh,
not
yeah, we
going
did,
to
but
be.
we didn't draw that. No, we shot the chicken shit version of that.
Oh, it was always going to be the chicken shit version. That was the point of it. You guys have no clue
Oh.
what we're fucking talking about. So now he's painted me into a corner and I have to tell it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Cactus Jack, avowed anti-Muslim, anti-everything. He fucking hates everybody, right? One of his major beefs is Islamic fundamentalists. So we had this bit where he goes to draw a picture of Muhammad, right? So the show blows up eventually to where he gets control of the cameras from the documentarian. And from there, the movie explodes from the documentarian's black and white into this crazy saturated Wizard of Oz fucking nightmare in color once Jack gets the cameras. So he starts his own web series, or webcast, and goes viral until he pisses off. Yeah, we never really gave a log line of this. He pisses off like so many factions that Anonymous doxes him. And then he's like, come and fucking get me. And he turns the studio into a machine gun nest. And he's just down there. He's out of food. He's huffing fucking liquid wrench and just waiting with his gas mask and his machine gun for people to come get him and shit, you know? So that's the big end game. But along the way, one of the factions he pisses off are Muslims when there's the scene where he's going to draw Muhammad. And he's sitting there at his desk, the whole iconic thing, and he's drawing. He's like, see, I'm fucking drawing him right now. I'm drawing his head. I'm drawing his fucking hands, his nose, whatever. And he's, of course, saying awful shit as he does it. And he says, you ready? You ready to see it? Ding. And he holds it up, and it's a blank page. And he says, you motherfuckers were sitting there wanting to kill me the whole time I was doing that. Just at the thought of me drawing a fucking picture that I didn't even do. So fuck you. You can't get me because I didn't draw the picture. So he's basically calling them out for wanting to kill someone over drawing a picture. It was a pretty
That's
interesting scene, super provocative. I think it makes a pretty valid point.
Yeah.
But it's not one that I'm willing to get my 7-year-old beheaded over or some shit.
Right, yeah.
Because unfortunately, that's the problem with fundamentalists. Reason doesn't matter. Justifiable arguments don't matter. So, apologies to any Muslims out there. I love everyone, like I said, but it's something you got to reconcile with. These are conversations that are valid, and arguments that are valid. You know what I mean? To the secular world, to people who weren't raised with, I almost said indoctrinated, but I'm trying not to be offensive, raised with these ideas. To us, that's just fucking absolute madness that you can get murdered for drawing a picture of anything, a god or not. There's tons of religions who have tons of paintings of their god, and it's cool. So it's just weird that you guys have this special rule and whatever. I don't want to get too fucking mired in that quicksand, but that's the kind of stuff that we pulled back on because we're like, it's not worth it. And we're not making this movie to offend. If we were making the movie to offend, that shit would be in it. You know what I mean? There was a couple other things. There's a blackface scene I had planned, but it's not, again, reveling in blackface. It's Jack torturing someone, making them up in blackface so that he, being a racist, can subjugate them and get off on it more. Artistically, super justified to me, but it's so triggering, even actors didn't want to go there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, anyone know someone who could do digital blackface? Because fucking...
Oh my God.
Surprise.
Probably unwise.
No, I'm kidding, man. Again, I don't get off on any of this, but holy shit, what is the point of art if you can't explore these things through a narrative, through story, through, you know?
I remember a scene that I wouldn't do that you got pissed at me for.
What's that?
Where you wanted me to sort of ape Buffalo Bill's "The Silence of the Lambs" dance with the junk tucked between the legs.
So there's no.
That was just for me. I was pissed because I was trying to get you to do that shit. Using the whole reason I even made the movie was to get that shit. So of course I'm pissed.
You're making this sound like necromantic or something.
I mean, again, my job isn't to be some fucking artistic crusader who's like, I insist that we get these and we must get these scenes. My job is just to have these thoughts and try and express them artistically. That's one thing I'll never apologize for, is a thought I've had. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, the world is populated with thought police these days, which is fucking scary to me. I don't want to get into politics, whether the left or the right are worse at it, but I think we could all draw our own conclusions on that these days, which is ironic to me, how culture has shifted over the years. But that's one of the great ironies of this movie is, sadly, people I don't identify with politically are going to embrace it more than the people I do identify with politically. So that puts us in a weird fucking space, you know?
Do you think?
I think so.
Do you think they will?
At least.
What's that, dude?
Embrace the character, at least, maybe, you know.
Yeah,
as,
exactly. But
one of their own. Not the film necessarily. Right. Yeah, it would be, they'd be making a mistake, you know.
Exactly.
So does Jack use social media a lot in the film? Because I think social media is really something that is dividing us as people. It's the best thing in the world, and it's the worst thing in the world. It's completely dividing us.
Yeah, man. I mean, Chris, you started talking. Feel free. I've been running my mouth all fucking.
Well, yeah, he starts his own podcast show. Video podcast show, and dresses up a set in the basement and uses his mom's old dolls and knickknacks as an audience and shit, and just goes off on these tirades. And eventually you do see the feedback or the backlash come at him. As Jay said, anonymous, eventually it culminates with anonymous doxing him, but leading up to that there's a whole sea of voices coming down on him, and supporters. You'll see some people in the woodworks come out of the woodworks who are fans of Jack's and might carry out some unspeakable things in his name and such. So he starts to make a impact from his basement. And so that definitely speaks to that the guy who normally would have no voice, really, he's just, cooped up by himself and has access to no one, really suddenly has access to the entire world effectively.
Right.
So that's actually a major component of this.
You know what this sounds like? This is like the sequel to Pump Up the Volume. This is like the kid from Pump Up the Volume.
We mentioned that
Growing
at
up.
Stone a couple times.
Did you? Yeah.
We pictured it as kind of a Taxi Driver meets talk radio. With
Okay.
Yeah, that's how you pitched it to me. You were,
yeah,
you,
Taxi
you were
Driver.
doing a
Some
lot of
pictures.
talk
Travis
radio.
Bickle got a microphone. You know,
King of comedy.
you probably hear my dog barking. How hot is my mic? You guys hear that? It's loud as shit.
Just a little bit. It's not that bad.
Yeah, the social media thing. Social media is this mechanism and this apparatus that exists ideally to bring us all together and increase connectivity. Yet, the way we use it, I don't know if that's just because of our nature, that we use it to other each other, to form tribes, to draw lines in the sand, to fucking fight left and right. And if somebody is persuasive enough, see the White House, they can ride in to great heights on some pretty divisive language. You know what I mean?
And there's also the anonymity, that
Yes.
empowers people to be worse than they would
Cactus
be,
Jack
in public.
is a pseudonym. That's not his real name. He starts the movie calling into these radio shows like right-wing talk radio or left-wing talk radio even, and he's pissed off so many people with such vitriolic rhetoric that he's gotten screened out of all these shows. So now they know him all. So he can't get into any, so he's just been sitting down there stewing and shit. And this documentarian kid's mom goes to church with Jack's mom, and he heard about him and he thought, that'd be an interesting subject. This dude who hasn't left his basement in 6 months, not even to take a piss or anything, right? He's just been down in his basement. Let me go see what this freak is like. When he gets down there, he finds out that he's this insane hate monger. But he's already at this point, get in late where he's been screened out. He's just down there stewing and ready to fucking explode. So this guy comes along with a camera and a mic, and he gives Jack this venue basically to start talking, and eventually it explodes from there once Jack takes control of the cameras. It's not enough to have this guy asking him questions and he talks to this guy. He needs to talk to the world like he was through these radio shows, So he starts this webcast and says so much nasty shit, it just snowballs into several factions wanting his head. He's pissed off everybody, so probably getting a little redundant there as far as explaining it goes.
No, that was perfect. Yeah, that sums up the plot pretty well. How many Jacks do you think are out there in the world today?
Dude,
Too many.
most
With
aren't
COVID?
as charismatic. That's the thing.
Yeah.
He's sick as fuck, but there's a charisma to him. There's the carnival barker aspect. Charisma is such a dangerous thing. It's a weapon that in the wrong hands, his call to violence will be carried out by someone. You know what I mean? Most of the people out there, I don't think are very charismatic. I think most are sheep, not shepherds. Most are followers. So while it's gross and fucking annoying and it definitely doesn't help unite people, it's not as dangerous. But when you get somebody who's persuasive, that Scott Adams kind of persuasiveness, and they get a hold of a mic and they start speaking to enough people who buy into what they're saying, shit can get crazy.
What were some of the influences that you put into Jack? It kind of sounds like there's some Charles Manson in there.
Absolutely.
Some like a cult leader kind of thing.
Cult of personality is zeitgeist as hell right now. If you look at our politics, and that was something we're definitely trying to exploit and explore.
Arguably one of the biggest problems with the world, really, these cults of personality, just too many bad leaders and people willing to follow them. But yeah, as far as inspirations for the character, I mean, it's kind of just an archetype of what we're kind of seeing in the world, not so much like these specific figures that he's modeled after or anything, it's more a general type,
history is
would say,
littered
but
with
hyperbolized to some degree.
Yeah, as far as shit. As far as preachers, pastors, generals, kings, fucking statesmen, even down on the community level, a father figure, a patriarch of a family. That's what American History X was. That's what this is to a degree. If you get somebody who seems to be in charge or even just carries themselves, and think of a lot of preachers. It's just that they have a voice. Like, have you seen Jesus Camp? Right.
Yeah, it's pretty
That kid
grim.
Levi. He has a good voice, a commanding presence. So he's just on a fast track to become a preacher just because he has these physical traits almost that he was born with, you know what I mean, that are innate, that if you put the wrong programming into him, who knows what the fuck's going to come out of his mouth. And if you put the wrong flock in front of him, who knows what they're going to do based off those words, you know?
Yeah. Michael, did you base your performance on anybody?
The snake from the Jungle Book.
Really?
Basically. Ka, with the sort of like a little touch of him and
I never heard that.
kind of
Fucking
how
cool.
James Spader's character is in The Blacklist.
Okay. My wife loves that show.
Yeah, it's good stuff, and Spader's awesome.
You're just based on James Spader,
roles, yeah.
period.
But that's kind of where that came from, and Manson for sure, Manson, because he was just saying ridiculous things, but
Motherfuckers are buying in.
you couldn't walk away. You just and on social media, I have a lot of still old people that I used to know in life who are Jack-like to a certain extent, but just not to the extreme. But they do hold a lot of the same ideas.
Mm-hmm.
The "fuck you, all lives matter" people.
I think we all have a lot of Jacks like that on our friends list on Facebook. Yeah.
You know, and I mean, it's just basically taking someone like that and just going over the top with them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and part of it's that anonymity thing again, though. Look at, you talk about Pump Up the Volume and Happy Harry Hard On. Look at that kid at school versus who he is in the dark with a mic in front of him.
Yep.
You know what I mean? What is Jack like when he's out in the streets before he receded down into this basement? Probably just some festering IT guy, incel, pissed off at the world, you know what I mean? But
yeah, he would never say any of those things out loud to any of the people that he hates.
He's on 4chan, he's, you know, spreading this shit under assumed guises.
Yeah, he would cower if he went to a convenience store and there were two black guys standing outside. He would cower, but then go home and give you 20 minutes on how they're not human.
Right, and how he's superior to them.
It has been interesting, you know, considering we did start this over 4 years ago, as we're working on it, to see the actual political and social climate shifting as it has, even more in a direction that makes it more and more relevant. You know, it's kind of, you know, quite a surreal experience.
Yeah, as we were making this, Charlottesville would hit, these different events would hit.
You know, George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement, you know, of course. And
did you guys started writing this? You guys started writing this before Trump was in office?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Originally, one of the plans for shooting was we were going to shoot. Remember, Jay? We were going to shoot live.
Watching the election.
Yeah.
How little did we know? How naive.
Yeah, I was going to say that was before like all the big hate coming up. What were the inspirations? Why did you guys want to make this movie?
I mean, I'll speak to that just real quick. That Chris and I actually might as well say this now. Everyone should go to Facebook, look up Cactus Jack at Cactus Jack Film. We just launched this page today. Thank you, dude. I think there's a new link actually. It should have. We got the 25 followers in like the hour before this to do a vanity URL. But that might still work. Otherwise, Cactus Jack at Cactus Jack Film on Facebook. We just launched the page today because our plan is to self-release this on its own website. We're going to be releasing the trailer, everything through that website with a pre-order button. Once it goes live, you can just buy the movie through there. We're trying to figure out a way to put a gift option in there where you could buy it and send it to someone. That would be fucking awesome. Thank you. There you go. I pinned a note at the top of that explains a lot of the genesis of this, why Chris and I would make a movie like this. And I talked about the cutting out the middleman aspect of it. That was a big motivation. But the question would be, why this film? You can make any fucking movie directly for an audience without a middleman. Why this nasty-ass film? And Chris and I grew up in the inner beltway of D.C. in a basically tenement kind of projects type apartment complex. We were pretty much the only white kids in the whole neighborhood. We experienced racism ourselves. I'm not going to get into like reverse racism and all that bullshit. Racism is racism. It wasn't systemic racism because we're white dudes, but just on a human level, it was fucking obviously racism, some of the shit we dealt with. At the same time, we would see these movie depictions. I was always fascinated with Mississippi Burning, fucking, you know, American History X, all these kind of movies that concern race and hate. To me, was just always fucking fascinating. I didn't understand. Even when people would fuck with us, I never hated them. Partly because we were educated at a young age on these more adult-themed movies, and we knew about slavery. We knew the original sins of this country. So even at young ages, as pretty perceptive kids, we understood why we might be singled out. You know what I mean? Then our mom married a military guy. We moved to the Philippines. Saw different sorts of racism there with the Negritos in the jungles versus the Filipinos, you know. We moved from there and bounced around the South, lived in Georgia, deep down in the fucking racist pits. We lived in
Buffalo, the Bible Belt.
Yeah, so we would see this shit all the time. Always been fascinated by it. Always wanted to comment on it. And again, while we love those movies that concern racism, the KKK, A Time to Kill, shit like that, they never seem to explore why the haters hate. You know what I mean? It's always just this thing that is terrorizing, which is good. It's captivating. It's great for horror movies and for dramatic shit. But, right, can we dig a little deeper? Let's take a character, put the lens on the hater instead of just making them this adversary or villain in the story. There's no hero in this movie. It's not even an anti-hero. There's no protagonist, really, in the film we made. It doesn't follow those conventional storytelling rules, you know. It's just like Gull said, a character study, you know. So I think that's what attracted us to this.
And a cautionary tale, too.
Like Chris said, everything we do is a horror movie. We write dramas. I've been doing this thing on Facebook, actually. The editor at Script Magazine asked me to do a couple installments this month for October on this. The most horrific non-horror movies. You know what I mean?
Good topic.
Jesus Camp was one of them that I highlighted. You know, movies like Compliance. It's fucking horrific how people could just at somebody's word.
True story, too.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
was, that's
which makes it that much more horrific.
Unreal.
So we wanted to do something that was a horror movie that's not supernatural. It's not Saw type shit. It's not a serial killer. What's horrific is that these fucking ideas are out there and being propagated and acted upon. And it's like a virus, you know? He's spreading a thought virus. He was infected with it early on. He's spreading it now through this fucking microphone to who knows how many people, which is, we're dealing with that now in reality with a virus. Hopefully everyone at this point understands how that works, but I'm not fucking sold on that.
Depends on which state you live in.
Yeah, exactly.
Wisconsin, slow learners.
So now this movie still takes place in 2016. So it's like a cautionary tale, a found footage film of this nasty shit that went down, and the Thornton brothers, we got our hands on this footage and assembled it into a narrative or whatever, right? But it still speaks crazy zeitgeist shit to what's going on now, even more than when we started making it. Even when you talk about viral shit like that, or masks, he's wearing a mask throughout the whole movie, you know what I mean? It's just contextually becomes so much richer just through happenstance as we've swirled down this fucking drain over the last 4 years, you know.
Yeah, and I'm sure there was no way you could predict what 2020 was going to be like when you started making that film.
No, I mean, some of it, I think we were onto something and we saw the writing on the wall and shit.
Yeah.
I mean, he's saying in this movie, and we did this before Trump ever got elected, fucking Black Lives Matter and all this bullshit. Now, you don't want to hear this, but Trump's going to win the election, and when he does, there's going to be a fucking race war. And the race war to end all race wars and shit, you know what I mean?
Oh, God, yeah.
Which, it hasn't quite exploded yet, but it could, and we're right on the precipice of it. There's people with fucking AK-47s out commingling with protesters and fucking, you know, AR-15, sorry, weapon of choice.
Yeah. We know that all too well here in Southeast Wisconsin.
Fucking Mr. Rittenhouse just down the road and shit. So I think we saw the writing on the wall in regards to that. The virus thing, of course not.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've all been too well aware that that could happen, and we've had other SARS outbreaks and Ebola and this and that. And Chris and I, one of our favorite books, I don't know if you ever read Richard Preston's Hot Zone.
Mm-mm. I haven't
Check
read
that
it.
book out. It's probably 15 years old or something, but Stephen King said it's the scariest book he's ever read. And it's a true story. It's the discovery of Ebola in that outbreak they had in Reston, Virginia with the rhesus monkeys. I think it was the 90s, right? When it happened. Maybe the book's 20 years old. Anyway, there was this outbreak in this facility where they were testing rhesus monkeys of Ebola virus, and Ebola went airborne. And they somehow luckily contained it and everything, but this book also gets into the origins when Ebola was first found in this cave with bat guano and shit in depths of the jungle in Africa. So we've always had this contagion. Think of Soderbergh's Contagion. There's another movie. It's one of the great horror movies to me. That's not really a horror movie. One of the most chilling shots to me in cinema history is just that linger on a doorknob after somebody left a room. You're like, that's it. That's it.
Yeah,
Chilling.
Some of those shots are really good at conveying like terror and just everyday objects. Because you know the virus is there, but you can't see it. And it's a really good movie.
It's like this insidious demon that's running around possessing people or something and killing them. But so while we didn't predict the virus in 2020, always been fully aware that one could outbreak at any time. You know what I mean? Yellowstone could blow up. An asteroid could hit us. I mean, I don't want to get into anxiety too much, but shit, man. Everywhere I look, there's something bad about to happen. So every movie we make, whether it's a drama, comedy, whatever, there's horrific elements in it, And if you look at our political landscape, it's absolutely a fucking horror show. It's like a zombie movie. Yeah.
So you guys don't have any idea when it's going to release then? I really want to see it. So, feel free to send me a screener link. So, if you want.
I have a clip Michael showed on that Off the Rails podcast.
I know they get a clip. I don't get anything here.
I'll give you a clip and you can edit it into this.
I already saw their clip.
I've got the clip. If you'd warned me you didn't have one, I could have brought it up.
That's okay. It's okay.
Well, it's more a matter of putting your best foot forward as far as presentation goes. Like if we're going to play it over a laptop and it's going to be picked up by a mic and sound tinny and shit, or whatever, it's not ideal as far as showing.
Right.
So if we could edit it in, if you want to do that at some point, that's cool. Otherwise,
I can always do that.
Link to it.
Everyone go to our Facebook page. The trailer will be dropping, I would say, in a week or so.
I was just going to ask that.
A week or so. Okay.
And the trailer is fucking looking good.
It's fire.
How many times have you watched it? I just shared it with him yesterday, finally.
Oh my God. It's insane.
Yeah.
I wish we could have had it for today, but
I know.
Oh my God.
See, this is the thing, though. Chris and I pulled back on all that, and we're like, we're going to make this ourselves. But now that we're in post, there's a composer in play. There's an audio mixer. There's a fucking colorist. So it's got to run through a few filters before it gets out into the world. But the trailer's coming soon. It's going to be on the website. If you go to the Facebook page, you'll be able to get access to all that as it drops. The movie should not be too far behind. I mean, it's fucking close.
November? Question mark?
I'm not making promises, but yeah, before
Christmas
the end of
Day.
the year, I would say for sure.
Christmas Day.
So it's a full length feature film, right?
Oh yeah. And Thanksgiving would be a funny time to drop.
Yeah.
Hey, get the whole family together, watch a movie.
Nice warm fuzzy thoughts.
Yeah.
In hindsight, 4 years really isn't unexpected. A lot of our filmmakers over the weekend that we talked to, they're like, it took me 5 years, 6 years, 4 years. So, 4 years isn't really.
And that's with huge gaps in between. Like I said, we had a TV development deal we're working on, didn't even look at it for damn near a year. And then we went back and reshot a bunch of shit, or not reshot, but came up with a whole new story element and shot new stuff. So
After I had gained like 50 pounds.
Yeah, that was
the last
interesting.
time we had shot.
Well,
And
part of the
then-
reason we cast
So
him,
there was a lot of creative shooting, like on I Love Lucy when Lucy was pregnant and they were trying to hide it,
Yeah.
carrying a pie or some shit or carrying a
Yep.
pillow. There was a lot of that, a lot of shooting around my newfound fatness.
I think it's time for the trench coat.
Just film it like Wilson over the fence.
Yeah, right. There's some of that. The mask helped a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, because one thing is, I don't know if you want to address the teeth and how much you want to talk about that or whatever.
Yeah, tell me about the teeth. What's
All
going
right,
on
if you
with
go on
the
the
teeth?
Facebook page, you'll see the picture of Cactus Jack. Gull already asked me, can we use a different profile picture? I'm like, fuck you, no, it's perfect. Part of the reason
Oh, yeah,
I
looking
cast
at
you
it-
is
looking
because
at it
your
right now.
grill was so fucking gnarly. Not a reflection
Look
on
at
your
those beauties now.
character or anything you did wrong, obviously, but just aesthetically. Chris and I, we talked about that earlier. We're into that kind of thing you don't get to see too much in movies. And if you do see it, yes, thank you.
Yarg.
Now, you had an accident, right? You had an accident where you got busted in the mouth and just progressively they just were shifting and moving, right? Isn't that what happened, you said?
You could take that down now. There you go.
No.
Lean in. Let's see these Jeffrey
That was
Dean
longer
Morgan
than the
teeth.
fucking trailer.
So that got addressed throughout the making of the movie. There were times, a lot of times early on shooting where he's like, dude, can you shoot my other side? I'm like, fuck you, this is your good side. For my purposes, the fucked up side's your good side, dude. So he was super self-conscious about that. His weight, he was super skinny. I remember, I don't want to air your personal shit, but I remember you making a post on Facebook about people thinking you were sick or something and having all this issue, and fuck you, I'm not sick, fuck everyone, you know, because people had been concerned that you had lost a bunch of weight and shit, right? So that was part of it. I was like, that aesthetic, he looks like this dude. He's not. Dude's got a heart of gold. He's a fucking pussycat. I love him to death. He's a great dude. But he had that look, that Cactus Jack look that we wanted, you know. I'm not going to say he looked like a hate monger, but he definitely looked like what the documentarian thought he was going to get. Some guy in disrepair who hadn't left a basement in 6 months. You know what I mean? So that was a major linchpin of it for me aesthetically. Throughout the process of making the movie, his shit was getting progressively worse, and they're like, we got to do something about this. So there's a scene in the movie where we utilize that, and Jack ends up pulling a tooth of his with some needle nose pliers. I don't know if you want to talk about that at all.
Yeah. I brought that up on
Yeah.
Molly's show too, and it that was right before. See, part of the deal was that if I did that, part of my compensation was going to be that they would get my teeth fixed.
Yeah.
So I did. And that was right before. Like I wasn't walking around for weeks afterward with like that afterward. But that was also, I remember that was also a challenge when we had to do those reshoots and those extra scenes.
Yep.
After I was fat, now I had nice teeth too, and we had to shoot around that.
Yep.
So you pulled one of your teeth out for the film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus.
How bad did that hurt? I don't think I asked you that.
It hurts a lot because here's what you don't realize. If you like you have a loose tooth or something, the roots go up to like your fucking sinuses. Your top teeth are like long, and this was a particularly dangly bad. I didn't have lovely teeth before, but I got into a car accident in 2014, and I got smashed in the face with the airbag. I was a passenger in the car, and my teeth started to get loose and like sort of separate, and then they get loose because they're not butted up against anything, and they were like 5 inches apart from each other, and literally like just working their way down. They weren't rotten or anything like that.
You know, like those beautifully jumbled fucking Sleepy Hollow fucking type cemeteries. At one time, all those tombstones were nice and erect and fucking, you know.
Yeah.
So over time, shit starts shifting and falling.
Jesus. Well, I asked if you were method. That's method as fuck.
True.
I guess. Yeah. And well, you know, since you asked that, I thought of this too. Well, during the entire shooting of the movie, I never went upstairs to take a piss. I peed in the sink.
Yep.
The utility sink. Your wife's laundry room utilities.
Well, not really, because one of the things, I spent a couple $100 on this with some of the crowdfunding money. I found down in Racine or Kenosha or something, there was this one of those nasty old cast iron double basin fucking farm sinks, basically. You know what I mean? Looked like some Buffalo Bill shit. Just this nasty old sink. And little did I know, the thing weighs like fucking 500, 600 pounds, dude. They had like 3 Packer lineman looking movers I had hired to bring this thing in and put it in there. So my wife wasn't thrilled about having this disgusting Buffalo Bill looking shit in our laundry room for 4 fucking years, basically, that he's pissing in several times a day. His fucking Monster Energy pisses.
Yeah.
Dunkin' Donuts coffee pisses.
Yeah, all day long. Oh, and when we did the proof of concept trailer, I ate a spider too. That was another little method thing we did.
He was method in a proof of concept trailer.
Damn.
So I'm going to change my answer and say, yeah, I'm a little bit.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. He also committed 6 hate crimes during the filming.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so the teeth thing, again, though, we actually had this investor who came in on the crowdfund out of nowhere. This Australian cat. He thought it looked awesome. A buddy of mine from Australia had linked it or shared it or something, and this dude that he knew just threw $1,000 in on the crowdfund. I was like, holy shit. So I started talking to him, and he was like, hey, man, if you guys need anything else, let me know. And we're getting deep into the movie, and his teeth are getting progressively fucked up. And he's like, I got to do something about these teeth, dude. And I was like, well, let me see what I can do. So I called this guy, and he threw us several more grand for percentage points on the movie. So there's probably $4 or $5 grand that didn't make it on screen. It actually made it on screen in a way that we had to hide it. You know what I mean? In the form of his teeth. Mm-hmm. So the movie, that actually felt really good. They were making this nasty ass fucking movie, but we demonstrably improved his life. You know,
it allowed me to eat food and become super fat.
Well, it's a job you do. Right.
So thanks to the diabetes.
Join us or die. Join us and die from diabetes.
But your teeth look amazing.
Right? Yeah.
Dude, his teeth are great. I'm so jealous now. I'm like,
I'm jealous.
I might go crash my
I
car.
know, we didn't put anything in the budget for our teeth.
Right. So we're gonna have to make that up on the back end. But again, though, it was getting bad, and your job, your day job, requires you to be personable and fucking smiling and shit. You know, I mean, I know it was a nightmare for you, so.
I need to get
awesome to be making such a nasty, hateful, fucking disgusting little movie. But
I need to get 6 crowns on the top of my my mouth. If you need any extras or anything, that
go in, Jason. Let Jay spend a couple days with you in the basement. The first 2 things will happen. You'll end up with your pants off several times.
Truth.
Almost every day there was an excuse for me not to wear pants. For some reason.
I work that shit in the trailer. You best
for some people, that's a good day.
I saw that. That's in the trailer. Yeah,
it is in the trailer. Goddamn it!
Nice.
I'm glad we got the ass shot before you put all the weight on. I will say that.
Now I'm juicy.
Still pissed about that tuck.
Could you use a body double for that though?
No one has ass like Michael Gull. No one. So yeah, man. I don't know. I mean, we could talk all night. Chris and I do podcasts where we just fucking ramble for hours on end. But if you just want to keep talking about the movie, I think we've probably said for the most part what we'd say about it. So much of it is you just got to see it to believe it. And
can't wait to see it.
I want to say this. This is something Gull and I touched on when we had this podcast we're doing called Holy Clowns. The triggering thing. So many people don't take into account that one of the best ways therapists help people get over trauma is exposure therapy. It's facing head on the thing that triggers you. So to insist that no one do this thing that triggers you, or to avoid this thing that triggers you, or to shut it down because you were triggered, really isn't healthy. So anyone who's going to watch this and is going to be bothered by it, you should be. It's awful shit. We didn't get off on making it. We don't expect you to get off on making it. It's a punishing fucking film. By all means, if you can't handle it, fucking turn it off, get up, leave, whatever. But please don't fucking try and trash it, bring it down, misconstrue our intentions. Because it definitely wasn't that. We're not just like, we're going to trigger so many people. We're not fucking internet trolls. We're not fucking...
Now, this character is in no way painted in any positive light.
Exactly. We even opened the movie with 2 disclaimers. Like, we do not share or endorse the subject's point of view. We don't, you know. One of them, we ironically... Yeah, you kind of have
It
to.
just, I don't know.
One of the disclaimers, ironically, we took from The Birth of a Nation, which is, of course, a fucking racist movie. Everyone knows.
Oh my God, yeah.
So we acknowledge the irony in that, but the disclaimer itself is totally applicable to this. So, and aesthetically, it just looked cool. So,
well, I wish the best of luck, you guys. I hope that nobody protests in front of your house. I hope that this is received the way you intended to receive. I really hope that people just understand where it's coming from.
Fuck you for planting that seed in anyone's mind.
Right.
Right. I just want to say this. Before we go, I need anybody who is making a film to cast me as a wacky neighbor,
Right.
a really nice,
Modest the type
a
casting.
really good guy. I'll be a zany neighbor. I'll be a wacky dad. I'll be just anything that's good.
I'm not this guy, I promise.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they got Robert Englund to do the Paper Brigade, where he was just like a old guy. So
I can be an old guy. I am an old guy.
You make a great Freddy Krueger, though. Come on now.
I
No,
could
I'll say
see it,
too.
yeah.
Hire
Well,
Michael Gull.
his teeth are too good. His teeth are too good now.
Right?
A zany Freddy
Before
Krueger?
4 years ago, he could have made a good Freddy Krueger, but now
That's true. He's so fucking charming now. And I will say again, anyone out there, local or not,
Dashing.
hire Michael Gull. He's fucking awesome. He's awesome to work with. Super talented. And but I just ask you, please bring him some good shit. I'm not gonna say everything he's in hasn't been good, but I just feel like his potential and his talent far outshines the reach of some of the projects. And again, it sounds like an ass saying that. Maybe it does here too.
no, you don't.
Probably does, you know, but try and do right by him if you hire him. You know what I'm saying?
I do have something else coming out too. It's coming out in probably spring of 2021. It's in late stages of post. Ross Bigley wrote and directed this. It's called Blood of Bad Men, and it's got a bunch of the best local actors in it, and it's a fun sort of pulpy sort of a thing. And I'm looking forward to that coming out. I play twins in it.
Serious man. Yeah. You obviously don't remember me from that set.
Were you?
I was there.
Were
I
you
was
the
there.
gun expert?
I was the gun guy, yeah.
Yeah, I remember you.
All right.
Yeah.
Now that you mention it.
Make the Gringo Dirty again from Brian James.
All right, Brian James. Brian fucking James.
Make the gringo dirty again?
Yeah, that is a story that involves tequila and mushrooms and a homeless zombie. True story. Dirty gringo tequila, a little traipse through the woods on shrooms. Yeah. Love you, dude. Get your shit together. You maniac.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see his reaction to this movie. All right, let's talk about the politics real quick before we go.
He's going to jerk off to this movie.
Possibly.
You know, how many people do you think will?
How many people are have?
Apparently there's a lot of how many have?
well, I hear that American History X is actually used as a recruiting tool in some circles.
Yeah, I mean,
That's got to be a concern.
it is, but it isn't. Yes, Queen. It is, but it isn't. It's kind of like we just make our art. Again, we've cut some scenes that we felt might have. I mean, not even so much because they were irresponsible, but just to protect ourselves and shit.
Yeah.
I don't know. The dude can't abide that kind of thinking. Like, people are going to do what the fuck they're going to do. They're going to interpret it the way they want to interpret. Look at the news. People interpret the fucking fact the way they want to interpret it. I can't worry about
Yeah.
people are going to interpret your art, you know. I hope people would get it, and I implore them again to watch this shit with an open mind and try and see that it is a character study and everything. But dude, there's going to be legions of them that don't.
Are you gonna do like a director's commentary?
Yeah, actually, we were thinking about before we were going to do a podcast episode that acts as the commentary, but we'll see how we do that. First, the movie's just going to be a digital download. Eventually, we'll make Blu-rays with some features on there, maybe some deleted scenes. I don't know if that one in particular will make it, but I don't know. It really gets sucked to have your kid get beheaded over a deleted scene.
Yeah, it does.
At least be in the fucking movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least be in the
Kill
movie.
somebody over it. Some cutting room floor shit. Come on. Politics, though. Let's talk for a second about that. He's very pro-Trump. He's very fucking anti-Hillary. The movie itself, though, we didn't mean it to be political. It's not a political statement. It's like a sociological human statement, you know? The lines have been drawn into society, and our characters are on either side of that line. But it's not like we're trying to say which side of the line you should be on or whatever. I mean, Chris and I, half of what we spend our podcast doing is decrying this left-right binary bullshit that everyone's bought into. You know what I mean? It seems like everyone insists you be one or the other and paint with these broad brushes. Looking at you, Brian. The left does this. All right, so I do that because I'm the left. I don't know. I just can't fucking handle it anymore. Stop it.
Putting fake flies on the vice president's head.
It's all just such a fucking mess. I mean, we can go on for that about hours, but I'm just saying, going about that for hours, but I just know that people are going to interpret this so politically. Right on, dude. I know people are going to just look at it through that lens and it's a pro-Trump movie or it's an anti-Trump movie. Fuck Trump. I want Trump to lose for the most part just so we don't have to talk about his ass anymore. But he's going to get invoked hardcore when people review this movie, talk about this movie. And again, please don't. Let's just talk about human nature. Let's talk about how humans get indoctrinated and infected with these thought viruses. You know, let's talk about ways to not abuse children and give them these bad inputs so that they become monsters like Jack. That's the kind of shit we want people to take away from it, not all this political garbage. So I'll drink to that.
What he said.
Yeah, definitely. Racism and hate is 100% learned. It's taught. It's not. You're not born with it.
Right.
So, all right. I think that's all we have time for, guys. Thanks for joining me. Did you have anything you want to plug? Some Facebook pages, websites?
I mean, for now, I'll just say let's hit that Cactus Jack page hard. We just created it tonight. If it doesn't seem like much is going on in there, that's why. Hopefully it's popping in a couple weeks with your help, everyone listening. Read that statement we pinned at the top there if you want to know a little bit more on why
Watch
we did
there
this.
for the trailer. Trailer's coming soon.
Yeah, sign up there and you're going to get this trailer and it's going to fucking melt your brain.
It is.
It's crazy. We're working on the score for it, the color grade and the audio mix right now, but it's cut. It's good to go. Just needs to be a little more polished. Same goes for the film. It's pretty much all ready to go. It's just, typical post shit. We're trying not to rush it because we don't have to. We're not Disney with a fucking hard release date of Christmas 2020. But it'll be out when it's out. And once the trailer's out, hopefully people share that shit. Get it popping. Pre-order it. It's only going to be $3 for the safe space and $5 to own for the fucking fully uncensored triggered version. So that was one of the reasons we wanted to self-release it, because I see so many indie flicks that a distributor gets a hold of and they put it out and it's like $7 or $8 to rent it. First off, I'm not dropping $7 on some fucking movie. I don't even get to own it. It might be trash. I don't know. So then people aren't renting it like the distributor wants, and they just fucking let it fall by the wayside because they're on to the next thing. Plus the whatever deal you're going to get as a filmmaker, like you sweat out for 4 years on this thing. Let's try and do that Louis C.K. thing. truly disintermediate, cut out the middleman, go straight to an audience, see what we can do.
I was hoping we could tie ourselves. You would connect us to yet another shamed person. So not only Trump, now we're
Louis, these are our tribe, dude.
Hey, please cancel me. I'm alright with that.
Do you remember The World According to Garp? Where
we're going the meeting route.
Where they're like house hunting in The World According to Garp, and as they're looking at this house, some fucking little biplane just flies and crashes into it. And right when the plane hits it, Garp's like, "We'll take it. It's been pre-disastered. There's no way another plane's gonna hit this fucking place. We'll take it." That's how I feel about getting canceled. Just cancel me. Fucking, it's pre-disastered, pre-canceled. I'm done. Whatever. Once I'm canceled, I can do whatever the fuck I want. So feel free, but don't. Anybody? Anything else? I'm a little hoarse.
Nope.
I think this sounds like a pretty bold endeavor, and I'm kind of looking forward to checking it out.
Yeah, man, appreciate it. Hope everyone gets it, digs it. If nothing else, they're just terrified and aghast at it. So,
Brian asked, any plans for Milwaukee COVID conscious screening?
Maybe we had talked to you guys about doing some kind of Twisted Dreams release when it came out, but I don't know, man. That's something we can definitely talk about.
We can definitely talk about that.
It's going to be interesting. I know you guys just did your film festival all virtual, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was awesome.
I'm feeling I would love to see this shit in a theater. We're doing a sweet 7.1 mix. Should be pretty trippy. Is one thing we want to do is bring the basement to life as a character, you know? So you're hearing rumbling pipes and buzzing electricity and shit behind you and everything to really immerse you in this contained setting, which would be dope.
Yeah, to really sell it.
It would be amazing to sit in an audience in the back and just see what percentage of them fucking bail. There are going to be people who walk out of this shit, but that's happened to great movies and con and shit throughout the years. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah. When it's done, let me know. Hit me up. We'll try to get a theatrical screening here in Milwaukee.
All right, man. Maybe a drive-in. That'd be fucking crazy.
Oh yeah, nice.
Well, then it would have to be done before December.
That's true.
True in Milwaukee.
Honestly, if we really fucking buckle down, it could be done by the election. It's that close. It's just a matter of, man, waiting on a couple people in post the process. I just got some last minute funding from the same Tooth Fairy that helped us with Gull's issue earlier. So that guy's all in. If nothing else, this dude believes enough to be continuing to pump money into this fucking thing. So somebody believes in it.
Was there any legal issue using the name Cactus Jack from the wrestler?
No, that's a good question. No, that name.
There was a president called Cactus Jack. I forget which one, but it was, I think, like 1800s or something.
I know. I'm trying to remember now too.
I feel like that was a restaurant or something. Cactus Jack, because I know I've heard that name before.
There's a wrestler named Mick Foley who's used that moniker, but now there's this rapper Travis Scott who uses this Cactus Jack thing too, and they just had the Cactus Jack meal at McDonald's.
Right.
See this?
I knew about that. Yeah.
Some Cactus Jack value meal or whatever. Like, God damn, let's get this on hashtag this shit. Hashtag McDonald's. Heck shit. Yeah.
President John Nance Garner.
Yes.
He was a politician. I'm sorry. Yeah. 32nd vice president. I'm sorry.
Vice president. And there was a movie starring.
There was a movie. Jack Palance.
Douglas. What? Kirk Douglas Western called The Villain that its alternate title overseas was Cactus Jack.
Yes.
So I believe there's a character in that movie named Cactus Jack. That actually came to be this. The name of the movie is part of this whole Robert Rodriguez shit. Chris and I were sitting around in the basement looking around at all the shit we had. And there was this guy who, I'll call an acquaintance more than a friend, but he was kind of a Milwaukee film scene guy. He's still around out there, but he gets into fucking beefs with everyone, so... And he had been telling us for ages, I just want to ride your coattails. Let me hang around and see what you guys are doing. And he would just bring us weird presents. Here's a book. Here's a thing. Shit you never asked for, unsolicited. And one he brought us was this hand-drawn picture he had drawn of this just ugly Bukowski-esque character that he had named Cactus Jack. So that was part of the genesis of it when we're like, let's make a movie. Let's Robert Rodriguez this shit. Let's see what we got here. What if we call this guy fucking Cactus Jack? It's kind of perfect. Maybe one of the radio hosts he spars with can say, "My, you're a prickly one, Jack," when he calls in under a false name, Jack. You know what I mean? So he has these seeds planted in his head, and when he goes to create his persona for the webcast, he's like, "What name am I going to use? Oh shit, Cactus Jack. It's perfect." You know. So again, if you want to make an indie film, true do-it-yourself, look around at all the shit around you, man. Everything could definitely be repurposed into a film. It's almost another obstruction kind of exercise, like a 48-hour film festival thing. What do you have in this room that you could use as a prop to make a movie, you know?
Yeah.
And do that as an exercise and start with a short film, work your way up maybe to a feature. Or just write prose, because making a movie is a complete pain in the fucking ass. That was a half joke.
I laughed.
It
I
is.
got it.
You guys have made shit, right? Isn't it a pain?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fucking pain.
It is.
All right.
But we do it for the art because we like to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I tell myself. Anyway.
Yeah.
For masochists.
So, barring any more questions popping up at the last second there, we good?
We got nothing. So I think that's all we got. Thanks for coming on, guys.
All right.
All right. Thank
All right.
you.
All
Go
right.
to
Thanks for having
Facebook,
us.
sign up, get the
Pleasure.
trailer soon.
Do it.
Thanks.
Yes.